But look, man, you could be smart or you could be wise. The choice is yours. Being wise is a lot faster to success. A lot, you want a happier life, right? Be wise. How do you be wise? Well, you learn from other people's mistakes.
Exactly.
Right? How do you be smart? Hey, son, if your life path says that you need to go the hard way and you need to go experience it for yourself, you're going to be smart. But that's going to probably take you 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
Either way, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
Which one's easier for you, son? Which one's easier for you, baby? My baby girl. My best friend, who is my cousin-in-law, his name's Javier. He's a very successful young man, by the way, and he's your age, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, he's your age. But he busted his ass to be where he's at right now. Like,
of course,
worked really hard to be where he's at. And I remember the kind of traumatic events that he'd gone through. So he's one of my best friends, actually the best friend that I have right now. And he doesn't like bringing it up because we used to get in punch-ups, me and him.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow. But
then he lived with us for a little while. He got to know the real me, I guess. I got to know him, and to this day we're best friends, right?
But they say, like, if you fight somebody and it's like not like real bad, like you guys kind of become like best friends after.
I guess so.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Like after a punch up, you're like, hey, buddy, come on, yeah.
If he was here, man, it'd be such a blast to talk to because we had stupid stories of what we did back then, but we're really dumb, in our early 20s.
Who isn't dumb in their early 20s, right?
Yeah. So long story short, we got married in 99, and we bought our house in 2000. We had our baby.
Wow.
My oldest son, who's now, he born in the year 2000.
There you go. Y2K.
Yeah.
Thought the world was going to end, right?
I want to touch on that real quick because the day my son was born, and I'm barely, I think I'm 26 or 27 years old. I'm 27. When he was born, the day I held him in my hand, you're not a daddy yet, okay?
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, man, the day you hold your son or your daughter in your hand, you're like this pure, innocent, beautiful, angelic being is now your responsibility. And this is what came over me, how filthy and disgusting and vile the world was.
Wow.
That hit me the day I held him in my hands.
Yeah.
You got to understand this too. 9/11 hadn't happened yet. 9/11 was next year.
Wow.
So, when I held him in my hands, this thing came over me like almost a instinct of like, and this is what I said to myself. I was like, I can't just teach his kids to survive because homeless people survive.
Right.
I need to teach his kid how to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have much instruction from my parents. Yeah. They're blue collar, they're industrial. They were surviving in their way, and with their upbringing, their station in life, and their understanding of the world, right? There's a book that actually describes this phenomenon called the outlier effect by Malcolm Gladwell. I think it's called Outliers.
Okay.
And it's the story of success from generation to generation. So when I read that book, everything I've embodied to be as a dad, as a father, as a husband, was revealed itself in that book. I was like, this is exactly what I have to do. I'm not an outlier, but my son will be.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like to teach a kid to thrive, it means that maybe you have to sacrifice where you're at in life and be the foundation and lay the foundation and the framework to allow your child, your baby, to have a better way, more of a thriving, successful life. They say that 10,000 hours or 10 years it takes to be a master of something, right? Well, remember in the early 2000s, I'm transitioning from being a sheet metal worker fabricator into the tech world. The tech world disappears from me in the year 2003. That's all gone, all the recessions, the layoffs, and all that kind of stuff. And then, as a daddy and as a husband, as a homeowner, as a person that has all this on his shoulders, like you're now 30 years old. Yeah. Now what the freak do you do? You know what I mean? and now you're in survival mode, and you're kind of like looking at your parents and thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm going to probably live like my dad and mom do, struggling paycheck to paycheck. The fear came over me, and I was like, now what do I do? And I noticed that in the tech industry, it was changing so fast.
Right.
And then you needed credentials and certifications that was evolving every 6 months, and they were expensive to get into. And I was like, this is very dead end, and I gotta change. I think when that layoff happened in the year, remember the .com implosion happened?
So that was 2003 now. So
2003.
we're talking another decade, right?
We're talking another decade. Yeah, remember, my son's born in 2000. 9/11 happened in 2001.
Yeah.
My daughter's born in 2001, right?
Oh, wow.
And so she's an infant. Okay.
Yeah, you guys didn't waste no time.
Back to back. They call them Irish twins.
There you go, back to back.
Yeah. But it came to me when I think we come back from Disneyland, my wife and I, and we're driving back. And I think at that time, in my thoughts, I never spoke it out loud, but in my thoughts, I was like coming up through, as we're coming into the Bay Area, I look up into the hills and I see the houses that people live in. On the hills, you can see the lights coming from their houses. And I was like, you know what? Those guys up there, they don't have jobs. Mm-hmm. Everyone down here does. I think we're coming up 680 at that time on the freeway. And so, you can kind of see the rest of the valley, but then you look up into the hills, you can see Milpitas Hills, all the houses are there. And I was like, those guys up there don't have jobs. They have businesses. And these guys down there work for those guys up there. I want to be where those guys are at. I actually had a chance to go up into the hills one time, and there was a guy that was pursuing my wife, but we weren't married at the time. We were dating.
Okay.
And he was a contractor, business guy, and his bedroom, man, was bigger than my house. That's how rich this guy was. He had his initials on the driveway and in the carpet of his house. That's how loaded this guy was, right? But I got a chance to walk on heated floors.
Wow.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, I'd never seen anything like that before. I got to see a view.
A new level of success and luxury.
Yeah, I got to see a view from the kitchen, doing the dishes. I was like, you do the dishes, you can see this beautiful view of the Bay Area. Oh my God, man.
It's kind of like when you first went to your friend's house.
Exactly.
Back in Northampton.
Yeah, exactly. Little signs like that. I was like, I want to live like this, man. What does it take? So I'd ask questions. I talk to people. And it turns out it's business, and I was like, okay, I need to be a business person.
So that's where
what
the
do I do?
Entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, what do I do? Exactly. No guidance. Remember, internet, no Google, none of that stuff was around at that time. Mm-hmm. I read this book by Robert Kiyosaki. I don't know how I got it, by the way, but it was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And check this out. It was the first time I ever read a book from cover to cover. First time ever. I'd never read a book like that before.
Wow.
And I couldn't put it down. I was just so excited. Mm-hmm. I was like, I found it. But Robert Kiyosaki's book just gives you that. It doesn't give you the exact instructions of what to do. It just gives you the concept. Excited,
right? Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, there's a different way of living, and we're living. But this whole time, you have to understand. I'm at 30 years old now, and we've been indoctrinated and ingrained in us employee mentality. Mm-hmm. You and I know what that means.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, but at that time, we don't even know what that indoctrination grooming is that's happening to us. Being a subordinate, meaning you're under supervision. You have to report to the supervisor. You'd only start working when the supervisor walks past you, and when he goes to his office, and you kind of relax.
Right.
You know what I mean? That kind of. But
modern day slavery.
Exactly. But I noticed that every job I'd worked for, outsourced, downsized, laid off. Every company, from the UK, Airflow Streamlines, to what happened to Mervyn's. Remember, they closed down, got bought out by Target, and that wiped my mom's retirement account out, by the way, in 2008. Wow. Every company, I was like, there's no, and I remember being 30 years old, I was like, there's no such thing as job security. I can't hinge my life on a job. I can't freaking sit there filling out a stupid application form, a resume that I'm custom tailoring to the job that I have no idea how to get the message across. You're in the blind, right? And then you got to do a custom cover letter and you send it, but you spend hours crafting this, what you think is masterpiece, right? And no response. It goes into the internet black hole, and you get nothing. And so you're prospecting for jobs constantly. See, the concept of prospecting,
basically begging.
Yeah, and nothing comes back, and then and you could sit there hours, man, banging out resumes, banging out cover letters, and looking for jobs. And you know, and I was like, this is not the way, man. There's got to be a better way. This sucks.
That's pretty cool though, that you, whether you realize it or not, you learn those things at a very young age, actually, in life. Like, you started to learn that in your 30s. I know you might have felt a lot older because you were already a married man with 2 kids, but that's pretty young to learn about, you know what, I need to be a business owner.
Yep.
You know what, those people up there have the businesses, they don't have the jobs. So you actually learned that. You learned that at a very young age in the whole aspect of life. But I can see where you kind of felt a lot older because you were a grown man, like, with your life. You had a grown-ass man's life at a very young age.
Young in today's terms.
Right. In today's terms, right?
Back then it's kind of normal. You got to understand what drives me, right? I'm a daddy. You know, remember my little boy, when he was in my hands, I felt the world was quite a filthy place, you know, and very cutthroat. I wanted this kid to thrive, right? Right. And then at the same time, now I'm daddy number 2 to my daughter Amaris, you know, and 9/11 had happened. The world is freaking, you know, going into turmoil. There's wars, you know. Man, it was crazy times, man. You know, and me and Cristina, we didn't want to just again end up back where we came from, which was being poor. We were doing quite well. I mean, we're the first ones in our circle. We're the first ones to own a home, man. Right. You know, we're the first ones to do it out of our circle of friends. Right. And we didn't want to go backwards. You know what I mean? And I felt a lot of my coworkers that I work with, they kind of went backwards. It's crazy. I've been talking to some people recently, man, and they've either gone backwards or maintained where they're at. Right. One of my friends that I work closely with, he sold his house in Hayward. He lived in the Hayward Hills, sold his house in Hayward. This is John's son when they transitioned and they outsourced their jobs and went to Beaverton, Oregon. And he quit. So he sold his house in the Bay Area, moved to Oregon, Beaverton, right? Transferred his whole family over there. Wow. Lost his job there. Comes back to California, but now he can't afford to live over here. So his wife stays in Stockton, right? And he lives in a bedroom over here that he's renting from one of his friends. And
that's now.
He works at some shithole company over here in the Bay Area, right? So doing some piece of shit job, right? Yeah. And God bless him, man. Somebody has to do that,
he's
right?
He's doing what he has to do.
But me and him, you know, his son's same age as my oldest as well. But I'm like, man, what a crazy sacrifice. The way you live your life, you can die just like that. Yeah. I'm very present to death, by the way. Like I think about it almost daily. And I was listening to Dr. Miles Monroe talk about that. You know, he talks about if you're present to death, there's something that drives you to leave a legacy, something along those lines. I won't talk about it right now, but
well, it's probably because you know that time is limited and you're not wasting time.
Exactly, probably along those lines. I don't know, but you know, going back to my boy and my daughter, and now my son's born in 2006, right? Guess what happened in 2009?
But the next crash, right? That was one that affected me.
Okay,
big time, right?
So for me, it was back to back. Yeah. So it was like
you went through 2 of them.
2 of them in one decade.
Not even a decade. It was within a decade.
You know what they call that decade?
The lost decade.
The lost decade. Yeah. Yeah. So people in my generation, Generation X, never gained any ground.
My generation.
And it was a very slippery decade, basically. It's 7:00 in the morning, man. My wife's been ringing me. Where you at? And I was just shattered, man. Wow. I got home and she's off to work now. She races off to work. And remember, I slept in the car I didn't have any good,
3 to 7.
Yeah.
Not 4 hours.
Not even that, man. It was rough.
Yeah.
And then I get home. Kids are awake. They're awake at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning.
They're energetic.
They're energetic. They're far. But me, I felt like such a shit dad, you know, like, because I had no energy. I couldn't play with them. I couldn't do anything with them, man. And just, I wanted to sleep and I couldn't. They're awake. So I'm very dysfunctional. Childcare. This really pissed me off. My buddy at that time, who was my friend, today, I wouldn't call him a friend at all. But at that time, he was a business owner. And he had Kidango, which is a child care facility. Okay. And it was paid for by the government. But he's a business owner. Right. Right?
So
I couldn't afford it.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't afford it, man. Yeah. And I was like, how are you doing that? He didn't tell me the secrets. He didn't tell me how he did it. All right. But I couldn't afford what they were paying. for Kidango. I was no freaking way. I was like, there's no point in having 2 jobs, and we needed 2 jobs. Obviously me and my wife working together and to kind of pay for the mortgage and our lifestyle. I mean, we weren't spending money. We didn't do anything extra or extravagant. Right. We're just trying to survive,
right?
Yeah. And what I would have to do is just try and stay awake. And this went on for about 4 years while I was working at Sun. 3-4 years, whatever. The commute from Livermore to Newark over here next to Fremont. And I would drive, and I wouldn't quite make it all the way. So there's a place called Niles Canyon that's between Fremont and 680.
Yeah, I think I've driven on it.
And I'd park the car underneath the tree, take a quick nap because I couldn't drive any further. Kids would be awake. They're in their car seats, and then I'd drop them off either at my mother-in-law's place, my mom's place, or my auntie's place.
Wow.
And then my wife would get off of work from Walnut Creek and drive all the way to Union City to pick up the kids, or my mom's or my auntie's place to pick up the kids. And many times she'd spend the night at her mom's place in Union City. Many times.
Yeah.
Then I'd get off my shift. I'd be home and there'd be no kids there, no wife there.
So you're just home by yourself.
Freaking pissed me off, man. I was like, this is not the way to live life, man.
You came here for the American dream, and you found yourself in an American nightmare.
Nightmare, man. And so, those experiences in life, they leave a mark on you, right? You're like, okay, we can't repeat this. We got to change. We got to do something different. So the layoff that I had, and it's a double-edged sword. Some people look for security, and I think being an employee-minded person at the time, I was looking for security and wanted a good paycheck. I was making good money, man.
And you had a family too.
Yeah, I was making good money too.
Yeah.
With overtime, we're almost clearing $100,000 a year.
And this was, what year was this?
2000s, 2003s, in between there.
That's probably like double.
Almost. With overtime, and and me and my wife together, combined income around 140, 150 million.
That was good income back then. Yeah.
On a W-2, right? So as employees, yeah.
Wait, but that was 2000. So taxes were still pretty decent, I think.
Yeah. No, we didn't understand taxes. We didn't understand how they all worked, right?
But you guys were doing okay. Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to get at was that it was a pain point in my life and it bothered me a lot. I was like, okay, something has to change here. And when we went looking for other jobs, other things, same situation, and I was like, we have to break this cycle. This sucks, man.
So you guys were making good money, but your life was a mess because of the commutes and all that kind of stuff. And it was it sucked. And this is like everyone's life over here right now. I'm gonna get to some point a little bit later on. Like I'm seeing how people live, and it freaking blows me away how people do that. But guess what's happening? You're not raising the kids, somebody else is. Yeah.
And you have very little influence on them because how much energy do you have left over at the end of your shift?
Right.
For your family? Nothing. Very little. You know what I mean? And so who's bringing the kids up?
Your
television,
your mother, grandma, aunties,
and their habits and their routines and their teaching and their methodology and all that kind of stuff.
Have you seen that movie with Jim Carrey, Fun with Dick and Jane?
I have. You have to remind me some of the
things. It's where it's the whole Enron thing, and he works for the company.
Oh, that's right. I remember now.
And his child's being raised by the Mexican nanny, and the child speaks Spanish and watches Telemundo. No mi Telemundo. Yes. Anyway.
So that was kind of happening to us, man. And it was cool because my kids would speak Punjabi. They were speaking, and then when they were little, they'd be able to speak Punjabi.
Oh, that's cool.
So it was kind of cool.
So a little positive came out of it.
But man, as a daddy, as a husband, as a male,
daddy, a family man,
family man.
Some daddies don't give a crap, right?
And that's weird to me, I don't know. I hear a lot of stories to this day, and I met a young guy today. Actually, I met a young guy a couple of weeks ago. I hung out with him earlier today. His name's Matthew. This kid's a badass, dude. He's 24 years old, man. And I just want to kind of steer him a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about that, like what drives me to help this young man out. He is such a freaking hardworking kid. 24 years old. I remember being his age. You know what I mean?
So you kind of see a little bit of you in him.
I see this huge potential in this young man.
Yeah.
And just gotta give him a little bit of direction, a little bit of like support. He could become somebody huge. I'm just telling you. But I think through the suffering and through the hardship, those points shape who you end up becoming, who you end up wanting to become.
100%, yeah.
And so that's what we went through. And
if your life was easy,
yeah,
that's not a good thing.
So those recessions or those dark moments, because those early years were very dark for me. And I said, you know what? There's got to be a better way. And I said, we've got to be entrepreneurs. How do you do that, man?
Mm-hmm.
No one in my family is an entrepreneur.
Mm. It makes it even tougher because you have zero examples.
Zero examples, man.
Yeah.
And if I did have examples around me, they wouldn't share. They wouldn't tell you. They would keep it secret.
That's weird, you know, because, you know, what I've learned recently from entrepreneurship is that you're supposed to pay it forward.
Absolutely.
That's the abundance mentality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's my way of thinking and doing things, you know. And but you know, at 30, I was like, man, we got to go do something bigger and better. And my wife allowed me to go pursue entrepreneurship. We tried a few things, you know.
That's important though, because if you don't have a spouse that supports you, you're pretty much dead in the water.
Yeah. Can I talk a little about? I want to talk a little bit about like our whole, you know, going from employee to being a business owner, going from like understanding nothing about money to totally understanding how money works and such. I want to talk a little bit about that because when we bought our house together, my wife and I, we bought our house together this is our first house together, right? I think it'd be my third property.
What year was this?
2000.
Okay.
2000.
So right before the bubble burst.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. This is November 2000. Oh, that reminded me. Sun stock, $174 a share at the beginning of the year. I sold my Sun stock.
At the beginning of the year?
At the beginning of the year.
Wow.
At the end of the year, it was $4 a share.
Oh my.
One of the dudes that I work with at Sun had killed himself.
That's what I was going to say. That would cause somebody to basically kill themselves.
He did kill himself. He was, I think he was in his 60s, late 60s. All of his money was inside of what's called a 401k.
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean.
And he'd been completely wiped out. He did himself in.
It's like that saying, like they interview people now, the biggest fear was death. Now the biggest fear is running out of money because they'd rather be dead than old with no money. Absolutely.
How do we know that it was related to the money? Because we just through the rumor, you know, people talking and stuff like that. I guess his wife had shared some of the concerns.
So he was married.
Yeah, of course he was, man. He was married. Wow. He's a grandfather, all that stuff. And this guy is an Indian dude.
He took his life.
Yeah, Indian guy.
My gosh, that's crazy.
And he did himself in. Yeah, wiped out, man, completely. I sold my stock only to get a down payment on the house that we were buying. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, you know. And how I ended up buying the stock was some guy I work with at work. He told me, Rav, you know, you should be buying some stock. I said, I don't even know what that is. What is stock?
What's that? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me help you. And he helped me out. He was, at that time, I'm 47 today. I think he was in his 40s as well. And he gave me guidance and he showed me how to buy stock. And so back then, you had to make a phone call.
You started to get mentors.
Yeah. Co-workers that were doing it, you know.
And well, at least the right ones, shoot, you know.
Yeah, I mean, to their, I mean, these are technicians, these are engineers, and you know, they're to their limited knowledge. But they showed me, this guy's name is Don. He goes, Rav, you got to pick up a phone. You're gonna make a phone call, and you're gonna ask for the, you know, stockbroker. He was right next to me, you know, and I made this phone call at work, and I bought, I think I bought almost $2,500 worth of shares of Sun Microsystems, Sun W, SUN.
And what did you buy it at?
I don't recall. Okay. But I remember it going to $175 a share. I bought $2,500 worth of stock. I remember having about almost, I don't remember exactly, but we withdrew mainly because I wanted to put a down payment on the house.
And so what did that $2,500 investment grow to?
I think it was like around 7,000? 8,000,
okay.
Not much, yeah.
So it almost tripled.
Almost, yeah. And so, you know, my brother-in-law,
that was your first experience with seeing your money basically triple that quickly, right?
That quickly, yeah.
Wow.
This is the tech .com boom.
Back then there was like millionaires overnight, right?
Yeah. It's crazy, man. But I remember shaking and nervous, and I was talking to Bank of America market maker, you know, the stockbroker guy, and he was, the way he was speaking and his tonality, and he was very condescending and
different times.
And then I got a stock certificate mailed to me, man. Yeah. You know, you don't get that anything like that anymore, right?
Now it's Webull and Robinhood.
Yeah.
And you got like teenagers investing in the market.
Absolutely. I want to talk a bit about my teenagers too, because you know, I got my young stud, my boy, investing in the stock market. But I remember my wife and I get into arguments about money and finance, and Because we had no furniture in the house that we moved into when we bought the house together. No furniture, man. No sofas, no beds, no nothing. No knives, forks, spoons. Nothing.
Went back to when you guys were in that house back in London.
Exactly.
When your parents with no furniture, no nothing.
So it kind of replicates. So I'm seeing this kind of like repeating itself.
The subconscious programming.
So that was kind of, oh my God, I'm kind of like living. But my wife said, let's put it on the credit card. I said, it's fine to put it on the credit card as long as you can pay it off. She goes, no, we make the minimum payment. I said, this doesn't work that way. What am I referencing? I'm referencing my parents. They used credit cards and they paid credit cards with other credit cards. They were in debt. They were struggling. They were struggling, man. Yeah. So I said, we don't want to repeat the past. So we were arguing, and we went to
Money Blueprints.
We went to Ameriprise Financial Advisors. My wife and I did. All right.
Yeah.
They, I think they charged us a fee for the initial counseling.
You know, us both being in WFG, we kind of laugh at that now.
Yeah, dude, this guy's young kid, you know, bachelor's degree, and you know, the way he presented, I thought, this guy, money guy, wow, you know, like high identity, you know, whoa. And then, and I didn't like the fee structure. I was like, this is expensive, man.
Right.
You know, I asked him a question, and he answered the question, and that was like, should we pay our credit cards off every month, or should we pay the minimum payment? And he goes, no, pay the credit card every month, and don't carry debt, because the debt will be very expensive to you guys. So he basically explained to my wife a little bit about how credit cards worked.
Well, that was actually a good thing.
That was a good thing, yeah.
Because it took away the fighting.
Yeah, but we ended up obviously not working with it. But check this out too. When we got our house together, my wife and I, they based the interest rate on my wife's credit score, not on me. I had a 700 something FICO, you know, credit score. My wife's in the 400s, and we found out why that was. There was a collections on my wife from a car accident that she'd got into, and they were rear-ended, and so the hospital charged a bill, and my wife didn't see that bill, and they put her through collections.
Why did they use hers instead of yours?
Because we're married, and they said, well, you know, I think it's a scam, man. The mortgage people scam us. Yeah, but we don't know. We don't know anything about money and mortgages and finances.
The lack of financial education.
No financial education, right? So our interest rate at that time was 9%. Isn't that bonkers?
When my father bought this house that we're in right now,
right,
it was 1989, $300,000, 10%.
Wow.
I think him and my mom combined made about 60 grand.
Wow.
And then my father just had the vision that he wanted to be in the good area. This house is now 1.7 million.
Wow.
But 300,000, 10%. So the payment was 3,000 a month.
It was expensive, man.
Yeah.
Most of our income was going towards them.
That's what the rates were back then, weren't they?
They're around a 5, 6, 7% range.
Oh, what year was this?
2000.
Yeah, so this was 89. So this is about 11 years before that.
Yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, just those little events. Like I was like watching these guys with big rings, BMW 7 Series. You know, just big fat suits, and just like
2000.
Yeah, these money people.
Yeah,
people. Yeah. I mean, even the real estate guy that sold us the house, he just looked. You know, my ambition at the time was to get a Volkswagen GTI. You know what I mean? And I looked at my goals back then. I was like, I was like shocked at how small they were. Right, identity.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
You know,
yeah.
So you know, these guys that drove those kind of fancy cars and knew a bit about money and such, and then us going through that situation ourselves, I was like, you know what? This really pisses me off about how other people know about money. And that guy killing himself at work, you know, how that all came about. Just all these experiences in life. I said, you know what? I want to understand how the stock market thing works, you know? Right. And I took my severance money that I had, and I invested in some stock trading course back then.
So you invested in yourself.
Remember, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I've seen a lot of people making money on stocks, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, shoot, we'll do that. I think we paid 18,000, I think, back then for the stock trading course.
$18,000?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I think so. And
people complain about $100 investment for a business.
I know, right? That's crazy. But I learned how to do what's called options trading, right? Okay. And trading derivatives. It was awesome. I was making money. And
still the way
I doubled
to go,
my...
right?
I took 30,000, something like that. It went to 68,000, you know, within a very short period of time.
So you got your investment back, and then
I did, yeah. And then I blew it, you know.
It's okay, because you didn't have that. You didn't have the identity yet to hold on to that, right?
Dude, I can go back in time, man. But you know, I'd make some, I'd lose a bunch, I'd make some.
Welcome to the stock market.
Exactly right. And then I understood about how real estate worked, and I started learning all these things. I was self-taught, right?
Right.
I met my wife introduced me to a CPA. Her name is Evelyn Saunders. To this day, she's like my big sister, right?
I love Evelyn.
Her husband Rod is a good friend of mine. And you remember
probably some of the purest people I've ever met in my entire life.
Absolutely. So check this out. I remember I'm modeling people's lives with great respect. I'm trying to model and shape my life and how we want to live as a family. Mm-hmm. I looked at their family as a benchmark.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to try to live like how they live and live to the standards that they do and the way they are as a couple and the way they raise their children. So I try to catch as much as I can, coming from almost like, I'm not saying that we did grow up in the ghetto. It was a rough part of Northampton. My dad's a factory worker, man, and my mom's a factory worker, and their identity is that. But I wanted to live at this level that they were living at, and so I copied them as best I could.
I want to say one thing about that because a parent's job, and I know you have high standards for how you want to raise your kids, but really a parent's job is just to teach us how to be just how to get ahead, just survive in this world, how to wipe our butt, how to do stuff. The rest is really up to us. Yes, if you have good parents that come from money, you'll get your life's a lot easier because you already get that blueprint. You got the doors open for you. But really, our parents' jobs is just to make us be able to be decent human beings in this world. The rest is up to us. Right. And so, a lot of the subconscious stuff is what affects us. But if you start to seek something greater, that's when the universe starts to bring it to you, right? And that's where all these books started coming in your life. This one guy that says invest in stocks. The fact that you sold your stocks right before the bubble just burst and then put it into real estate. So I think, and I give you a lot of credit because I didn't grow up having to worry about getting beat up every single day, just leaving the house, and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't grow up just getting spit on because of, and by the way, I'm Mexican, but I looked white growing up. Mm-hmm. So I saw racism, but everybody thought I was white.
Okay.
So I didn't get it. It didn't happen to me. It happened to my friends. And at first I didn't believe it. And then when I started seeing it, I was like, oh my God, it's real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I give you credit because, my mom kind of comes from a similar thing. She grew up in the projects of El Paso, Texas.
Oh, wow.
And talking about like the whole Mexican versus African American, that's what it was. It was like the Mexicans and African Americans would just beat each other up all the time. So it was fear every day of getting beat up by one or the other, right? But anyways, I just wanted to say that because, a lot of times, our parents can only do what they can do. You know what I mean? We're only going to be able to do what we can do. And hopefully our job is to get our kids a little bit better than we were, right?
Absolutely.
But the rest is up to us, right? And I think that's kind of why we both fell into this organization that, we're part of the last 10 years. And it's just because we're seeking something better.
Absolutely. And Evelyn's the one who introduced me.
Yeah, I love Evelyn. Evelyn's amazing. Evelyn, how's it going? I saw you and Rod. They just got beautiful. Where'd they move to?
Dude, their house is sick.
They're like on. I'm like,
have you seen it?
I saw the pictures.
Oh my God, bless them, big time, man.
They deserve it. But where'd they go?
Yeah.
I know it's like
Santa
Southern California.
Somewhere around there. It's in Southern Cal.
Okay, Santa Clarita. Okay, so they're in the valley. They're in the valley. Yeah.
Yeah, just absolutely beautiful, pristine spot.
I bet you that house was half the price of their house over here.
Yeah, I mean, Evelyn worked really hard. So did Rod. I mean, Evelyn and Rod both worked really, really, really hard. And
100%.
I mean, check this out. As a CPA, she has other CPAs that she works alongside with, and every year a CPA dies around tax time. Yeah. Every year, man.
Stressful.
So, we're very blessed to have her as our CPA and a dear friend of ours, both Rod and Evelyn. But, their guidance, they steered us into World Financial Group, WFG, which is just a platform. It's a name to a concept.
Right.
And us as human beings bring that platform to life.
Right.
Okay. Our personalities, our characters, our values are brought onto that platform, and we can accelerate them on that platform because everyone on that platform there wants to improve their life.
and I'll be honest with you, because I now have a different perspective of a different business, because obviously this business that I'm starting now.
Yeah.
I now have a much higher respect for the WFG system, right? And I'll say this on camera, right? I've invested almost $15,000 into this business. I haven't made a dime, right?
Wow.
I've been doing this for, I don't know, let's say 3-4 months now.
Wow.
Right? Now I understand the power of having a mentor. Now I understand the low startup cost, $100 freaking to have the system all done for you. I understand the fact of like, you have people that have already done it. Like if I had Joe Rogan as my freaking mentor, like I would be like light years ahead of where I am at right now. And I'm not worried about it. I mean, and we'll talk about Pinnacle and WFG and all that kind of stuff. But if you're part of Pinnacle or WFG, just appreciate it, because I now get it, right? I've owned businesses before, but I was a real estate person.
Yep.
Real estate's not really a business. It's like self-employed, right? Like,
yes.
And especially when I got into it, it was like you didn't even have to have a license. It was the wild, wild west. Everybody was making money. This is the first real time I've taken on true entrepreneurship, where I don't know what I'm doing. I don't have any mentors. I've invested over $10,000. I'm just winging it, but I'm taking action. I'm taking all the principles that I was taught and ingrained in me through Pinnacle and WFG, and I'm applying to this, and it's working.
Absolutely.
It's not easy, but now I understand the power of having successful mentors, and it's crazy. I think the problem with WFG is that it's so easy, that it's so low startup cost that nobody even takes it serious.
No.
Like if you go through something like what I'm going through now, and then you go into that, you're like, okay, piece of cake, let's go. You know what I mean?
To relate to you in that, because we did do the vending machine thing, I invested, I think we put 25,000 into that, made nothing.
Right.
You know, the kids had a blast, because they'd line up and wait for their cup. They wanted hot chocolate, man. You know, we did it. The thing that I wish I knew at that time was sales.
Right.
I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know how to close. I didn't know any of that stuff. Even though I had machines, remember that I thought machines, just put them in warehouses and companies, and it'll pay you.
Right.
You have to sell it, man. You still have to get it closed on that. I didn't know how to sell.
Right.
And you got to remember that we're children of the 70s and 80s. Being a salesperson was a dirty word. You were a scum of the earth if you were a salesperson. If you were sales, especially if you're Indian. Especially if you're Asian, you're not an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or anything. You you're crap. You know what I mean? I'm not marrying my daughter to you because you're beneath us.
And here's the funny thing: you're British more than you are Indian, right? But you're labeled as Indian here.
Absolutely.
So you're put to that standard.
Exactly.
Even though you didn't grow up there,
wasn't born
you have
there,
no idea really of what that culture is like, because you're British.
More than
that's like someone labeling me as Mexican,
right?
When I didn't grow up there. I mean, I'm Mexican American. I'm not saying I'm not proud to be Mexican, but like Mexican from Mexico, I would have no clue what that life is about.
Absolutely, and I've only been to India once, man. Yeah, when I was 12 years old, and I loved it. I loved it so much.
I can't wait to go. It's a beautiful, fun country, I would say.
Yeah.
It's definitely third world, definitely, but some parts of it are first world.
Yeah,
that's the funny thing about India. Like Russell Peters, I was watching his new special, and he's in Bombay, I believe. And the place he's at, everybody looks like you're in the Silicon Valley. Like just young couples. Dude. Like it's just awesome.
When you're rich in India, you can get a car, an Audi A8, for example. The interior would match your turban.
Oh my god.
The color. I want they like that.
Yeah, like that, yeah.
The wealthy are ultra wealthy over there.
Yeah.
The poor, you've never seen that level of poverty, man.
Wow.
It's undescribable level of poverty, you know, and it's terrible to be in that state. Yeah, but you know, to identify as Punjabi or as Indian, it's very difficult to have that label placed on me, because even over here, when I try to fit in, I don't quite fit in very well.
Yeah.
You know, I don't really. I do want to fit in, so I do the best chameleon act I can do, right? And even to be labeled as British, A lot of people say, "Oh, you're not British," you know, and then they'll give me the history lesson on Britain and how Britain screwed India over and took all the freaking gold and the Kohinoor diamond from the Sikh Raja. You know, and it's the truth, man. I mean, the queen has the Kohinoor diamond, which belonged to our king,
Right.
and we have no kingdom because the British annihilated that. There's no kingdom for the Sikhs,
Right.
you know, and but you know. What can you do, eh? You can't go back in time.
No,
right?
no. Always look forward, like
yeah. You got to recreate and rebuild and make your life awesome the best you can, right? And just be a positive contributor to the world and try to make the world a little bit more heaven-like, you know. And sometimes you have to go through hell to make that happen. And I don't say go through hell, I say grow through hell, you know. So that's my new way of growing through adversity, you know. And I don't know, I'm kind of rambling right now, but what I'm trying to get at is that basically all the little past life experiences that we've gone through and the fear that kind of grips your spirit and says you don't want to visit poverty ever again. Yeah, so to identify as British is difficult too.
Yeah.
Right. To identify as Punjabi doesn't quite fit either. You know, I did marry out of my own brand of folk, right?
Sounds like you have an identity crisis here.
Yeah,
huh?
man. But one thing I'm super excited about is that I did apply for my American citizenship.
Oh, that's exciting.
Anybody can become an American.
Yeah.
And you can then say, you know what, I'm American, man. You know, and so I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
But I would say the culture and who I am as identity-wise is Britain that shaped me. It's also the culture of Punjab and the Punjabi culture that shaped me as well. It's also the challenges that we've had that have shaped who I am today, and all, you know, being a daddy, you know, being a husband, you know, I want to stay married to my wife forever, right? She's awesome.
That's awesome.
She really is awesome, man.
That's very, very rare these days.
Toughest woman I ever met, man. I think no other lady with what we went through could handle what we've went through.
Latinos are tough, man.
She's definitely that lady. But, you know, to get to what I'm saying, I'm going to take all of this life experience that we've had. Let's just call it wisdom, right? And I tell my kids this every day. I was like, every day. I think they're parent deaf, man. And what the word parent deafness, we learned that from the WFG platform.
Right.
As mentors, as coaches, as leaders in business, we're teaching and instructing our associates to get to another level, and they get deaf to us, and we now know the language. But I think my kids are deaf, as a parent deaf to us. So what I've always wanted to say, I've always said this to them. I said, look, man, you could be smart or you could be wise. Mm-hmm. The choice is yours. Being wise is a lot faster to success. A lot, you know, you want a happier life, right? Be wise. How do you be wise? Well, you learn from other people's mistakes.
Exactly.
All right. How do you be smart? Hey, son, if your life path says that you need to go the hard way and you need to go experience it for yourself, you're going to be smart. But that's going to probably take you 20, 30, 40 years.
Right.
You know, either way, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
Which one's easier for you, son? Which one's easy for you, baby? My baby girl, you know, wise or smart? And then, you know, I'm very, I'm not saying to be like strict. I'm not strict with them, but I do want to guide them. My uncle, he's deceased, but I love the way he described it. He goes, son, he was very supportive of me and Cristina getting married. This is my uncle, my dad's middle brother. I loved him. I adored this guy. I wish he was my dad, man. That's how badly I just adored him. But he said, son, when you're raising your children, you don't want to be too strict with them because then they'll come out.
They'll rebel.
Yep. But you don't want to be too loose with them because he gave me this hand gesture. Otherwise they'll slip through the. You want to be like that. The way he described, you want to raise your children like this.
Yeah.
I have that image in my mind, and how I'm talking to my children, my baby boy, 14 years old, my 20-year-old. And I want them to explore life. I want them to go for adventures, but I also want them to learn from, hey, your daddy made this mistake, and I've seen other people go through some mayhem and chaos like that. Look what they did. And avoid that, avoid those associations, son, because you are who you hang out with, and these are the lessons I want them to learn so that they can build a better life. And the book that I'm going to repeat again, Outliers.
Okay.
What's crazy, man? I already know a lot of the successful people in WFG, the top guys, they haven't read that book. We're talking about Ed Milet. I know Eric hasn't read it. God bless him. I know he hasn't. But that book shows how people have become successful. It's the story behind the success of people, the story behind the success behind the success, what made people successful. And you can see generations of generations create environments for this person to be super successful in their life.
Right.
It's not by magic. It's actually by design.
Yeah.
You know, so, and when I read that book, I put it down. I told my wife, Cristina, we're not outliers, but we can make ourselves outliers.
Yeah.
10,000 hours or 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then knowing that we have to sacrifice our lives for our children. Every parent does. Every parent that loves their children does, right?
Every good parent.
Every good, yeah. But I mean, more so than that. I mean, more than that. I mean, like, if I passed away today, remember, I told you, I'm very present to death. You know, I'm like, you know, we could be gone. I have peace of mind knowing that I've set everything up. I do have a dynasty trust. You know, I have life insurance policies. And I make sure there's over $1 million per child. Mm-hmm. Plus, I've hooked up my mom and my brother, right?
True legacy.
Absolutely, brother. Let me tell you, my trust, the way it's designed as well.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking generational, I'm thinking legacy. It's not just money. Money's just a tool, but it's the education, it's the wisdom that we want to transfer to the next generation.
Yeah. There's a quote that says, "Don't buy your kids the things you didn't have. Teach them the things you didn't know."
Mm-hmm. And you know, it goes back to what we're supposed to do here on earth. Build heaven on earth. That's what our job is to do. And so that's what we're here for. So if my time gets pulled, if I get pulled to a different calling, you know, how God is, right? He just yanks you out of play. And then, you know, the next generation has to take over. Yeah. And so I want my dreams to be able to come true. And what is that? Hey, work hard. Help people. Make the world around you better, okay? Serve the world around you. Use your money as a resource. Use your money as a tool. Be respectful of that resource. Learn from daddy's mistakes. You know, there was some times where I did some dumb stuff, you know, with money. There's been many times where I've been dead broke, you know, and it freaking sucks, man, when that happens. How depressing, how reactionary you are in your mindset, how irresponsible you become when you're desperate. These things happen when you don't have the financial resources around you. When it comes to love and relationships, I'm already planting seeds in my boys' minds that on a very deep level, man, and this may not resonate with folks, but I say, hey, look, I'm already preparing my son for broken hearts.
You should.
You know, I
had to learn the hard way through experience.
Yeah.
But everything happens for a reason, but I just wish my parents would have been a little more open about certain things.
They didn't know. You know, we know from our experiences and things that we've learned and developed.
Of course.
Here's what's crazy. People think WFG is a financial insurance, life insurance company. It's not. It's a personal development company. It just so happens to sell financial products so you can make some money.
Of course.
But it
builds people.
It builds people. Absolutely, it does. It takes people to another level. People's marriages would be better if they joined WFG. That's for sure. And they'd be married still. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And people don't understand because they think it's like an MLM or some pyramid thing, which is complete BS. It's a real business. It's a genius system, and
it's very genius.
But it depends on how much you're willing to grow.
Yep.
And you have to be all in.
It's like a gym membership. A lot of people have gym memberships. How many people actually use a gym membership?
Yeah.
But they pay, you know what I mean?
Not very many.
Nah. And the people that use it get the most out of it, right? The people that are members of it, they may feel subconsciously that they have an active membership. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, you go to the gym to work out and you're in an environment of people that are working out to improve their health. That's what WFG really is. That's what, especially with Pinnacle. I mean, we're a personal development company. Focuses on faith, family, finance, fitness, and fun. You know, we do all those, the 5F. And there's no other place where you can get people from different walks of life, different cultures, different languages to come together in one place with the pursuit of a better life. And you're learning now from doctors, engineers, scientists, different cultures, different languages, different people, and you're associating together and you're getting these nuggets that you would never otherwise get because the hierarchical system outside of WFG keeps you separated in layers that, you know, in subordinate layers almost.
It also teaches you how to be an employee.
You know, I've been at Tesla for just observing what's going on at Tesla. I've been there. It blew my mind. Just talking to people, interviewing people. I know quite a few people now, talking to them. And there was a point in my, I think just last 3-4 months, I was like, oh man, you know what? This is, I started beating myself up a little bit. Like, you know what? This whole thing that I'm doing right now, I should maybe transition to something different. But then when I got there and I started interviewing and talking to people over there at Tesla, they're hungry for this knowledge. They're like, and then someone texted me back, man, keep doing what you're doing, man. People need this. People need what you have to offer.
Yeah.
And let me give you a quick example. There's millions of people, man, that are living lives of suffering in silence. Okay, they're commuting 3 hours each way to jobs that are working 12-hour shifts, maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours worth of sleep. They're away from their families and they're away from their babies. Marriages are broken, by the way. I talked to a few people that marriages have been tore up.
Yeah.
And for a check, an income check, right? With no guarantees of that job being around because they're outsourcing or late. No, I see that happening, and people are getting older. Mm-hmm. These people are getting older, and I draw this line of lifeline. I have this thing that I drew out to show them, hey, let me ask you a question. How old are you? What is a year? And then I'll do 2030. How old will you be when you're 2030? Let's put the age above that year. So who else is in your family? Your kids. Let's put their ages at 2030. What do you think is going to happen to them when they hit that age? Where are you going to be? Where do you imagine yourself? These people have never seen that far into the future.
Yeah.
And when I do that to them, it either makes them cry or they're very upset because I've sent them looking into the future and it's bleak.
Yeah, they're just in the rat race. Not even had.
It's bad, man. It's bad out there. I'm telling you, it's really bad. And then you have, I've seen the Tesla hierarchy. I've seen the pyramid scheme of things, right? From Elon down to the supervisory levels and the management, and the way they keep people separated. It's very interesting. I was like, okay. The supervisor that's at the company right now, and he keeps his distance from the workers there. He doesn't really talk to them too much. He doesn't really interact with them. Very arm's length, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And between him and his supervisor, I've never met that guy, and I'm just talking to these people. I'm interviewing them all. And to be honest with you, man, it's very dead end. No future, no hope, until I sat down in front of them and showed them there's a way to create a future for themselves. And it's the same thing I show my kids, man. Yeah. It's the same thing I show my boys. I was like, listen, my 20-year-old right now, I forced him to, by the way, save about 75% of his income. And I said, all you're going to be doing is focusing on one stock. You're not trading stocks, you're going to be investing. So he's 20, man, and he's almost doubled his money just this year. Same thing with my daughter. Mm-hmm. My daughter. The goal of my kids is to have them now work together as a family. Wow. And buy their first asset, which will be real estate within the next year or so. Mm-hmm. Well, and so no other parents really doing that as I am. I'm making them do things that other parents aren't doing. Yeah. We're making them invest. And so
that'll be smart because they'll be able to sell that in the future and each buy their own home from that one.
This is the goal, man. I'm telling you the secret. So they're gonna be buying their first income producing property. Mm-hmm. They're gonna repeat the process a few times until they find a point in their life when they're gonna be settling down. I have conversations with my kids. This is how crazy it is. I say, hey, look, kids, there's 3 new people coming into our family. Like, who are they? I remember the first time I had this conversation. Mm-hmm. Who are they? I said, they're your spouses. They're coming.
Yep.
And they're coming and they can cause division between all 3 of you guys. What? Yes.
That's true.
Because we've seen it. We've seen it too. How do we see it? We see it because we've dealt with those people through the WFG platform.
Yeah. And not only that, I see it in my own family.
Yeah. The division, the chaos, the mayhem. And I'm so thinking about like how to prevent that chaos from coming into our family. Generational legacy trying to build it.
Do you think you can prevent it though?
Yes. The way I've done it. The Dynasty Trust does it. And then, and this podcast, hopefully, you know, they get a chance to listen to it. The instructions are there.
I think they will, and they'll be like really
Yeah.
hyped up because this is what the younger generation loves.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But, you know, I hope the three spouses that come into our family are collaborative and they work together, because every business is a group of people that have come together and they collaborate. They call it a corporation. Every family is the same way, man. You know, you either have a dysfunctional family, you have a functional family, and every family is a business. It's got to be successful, otherwise it fails, and then you have chaos and mayhem.
That's an important point.
And so the things that we have instructed the kids to do is personal development, personal growth. They have to take these courses when they get married or such. They have to take personal development courses, and to ensure that they stay married, ensure that they raise champion kids. This is all instructions within the trust and estate plan that we built. If they don't, they don't have access.
Would you be okay if your kids made a couple mistakes along the way?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But there's catastrophic mistakes they cannot make.
Yeah.
Let me give you those. You want to hear them?
Sure. Let's go.
Number one catastrophic mistake is getting the wrong person pregnant.
100%.
Having a baby with the wrong person.
My mother beat this into my head. She said, Isaac, if you don't learn anything from me, learn this. The most important decision you'll ever make in your life is the mate you choose.
Absolutely.
Because that'll affect your life for the rest of your life, good or bad, especially if you bring a child into this world.
Absolutely.
So 100% I agree with you. What are the next ones?
And then the other one is don't hurt yourself.
Okay.
What I mean by that is like alcohol, drug abuse,
addictions.
Self-deprecation is also abuse.
Yeah.
When you talk shit to yourself all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then don't harm others. What I mean by that, you could be drunk driving, and then you could hit somebody and kill somebody. You've now harmed somebody else. You could be ripping somebody off. You know, ripping someone. You've definitely harmed them. You know, don't ever do. That's a catastrophic mistake you can never recover from. Some things like that can cause you to go to prison or felony. You know, so whatever you do the right way. You do it with you know. Make sure you always do the right thing for everybody around you. You know what I mean? And never harm anybody, never harm yourself. Those are the three mistakes. But everything else, man, you can make your mistakes. It's okay.
100%.
You know? So those are the things, man. So what drives me like this, man, is like, what do I care about? Which drives my beliefs, right? Which drive my thoughts, which drive my feelings,
right?
Okay? And which my feelings then drive my actions, and then my actions drive my results in my life. So I think if everyone can get that concept down, what do you care about? Right. Write that down. You know, if you write down what you care about, then you can also start to shape the way your beliefs form.
Your morals, your values and your morals, basically.
Absolutely.
And it starts with that, and everything else stems from that.
Absolutely. You know, people need to understand that people don't follow you. They follow your values. They follow your gifts. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. And so whenever you're talking to anybody, you got to be talking about the values. You got to be talking about, you know, your values are the gift within you, right? So my values are like, make the world a better place. If I can help anybody, you know, I'm over there, you know, talking to these guys at Tesla, and I said, if I can make an impact on this person's life, even if it's like 1%, I've done my job, man. I've orientated this person, and then they're going to start to take off, make a positive impact in the world around them. I mean, their marriages will probably stay better. The child that they raise will be loved and adored and poured into, you know what I mean? These little things matter to me. These things I care about. You know, I care about, you know, children being raised in a positive environment. I care about marriages staying intact. I care about like people, and men, especially men, having hopes and dreams, man. Without a vision or a hope or a dream, no woman would be around you. Yeah, they'd monkey branch from you to the next dude that's got the baddest car or whatever, you know.
And it's funny because a lot of the things that we learned in the last time that we've been is stuff that people do need, like you said. Like I mean, and it's not just stuff that comes from WFG. It's success principles, except WFG pounds it into you every single day, over and over until it sticks.
And then you're forced to read books that you would probably never read. You're forced to hang out with, you know, it's the uncomfortable places that you put into and the WFG platform that forces you to grow. It's like that uncomfortable that's what probably blows a lot of people out. You know, on the internet, there's a lot of maggot brain trolls that talk smack about this platform. And when I listen to them, I do want to throw up because it's just pure garbage. But I always say this, is like, if you're listening to that and that's your listening, that's what you're in tune with, you definitely don't belong among us.
Yeah. There's never somebody that's doing worse than you that's hating on you.
Yeah.
I've never met a successful person that hates.
I haven't either.
Like they're always like supporting and stuff like that.
Some guy I did respect a great deal. He called our company World Effing Group, and I was like, dude, I was like, man, I've lost total respect for you now. Yeah. At one point, I did have tremendous respect for him, but I was like, my livelihood and how I built my life and what I dream about, what I care about, everything I do. I'm not saying it evolved from the company, but it's made a massive difference in my family's life. You freaking kid. It's made a huge difference in other people's lives too.
Best version of yourself.
But I'm just seeing the impact it's made on other people's lives, man. Yeah. And I just want to be able to like continue doing that more often. Yeah. I do ask my kids to get into something. They have to get into something, right? And I said your character, how you show up every day, is your character.
Right.
You got to do things that you do even when people aren't watching. And I said, at the end of the day, you got to make something happen in this world. And I've shown them all a variety of things that do something. But we talk about real estate, and I understand real estate, the numbers. I understand. What's crazy is that when you look at real estate investing in itself, and you took all the concepts and the things you have to do in real estate investing, it's what you have to do in WFT to become successful.
Any type
bird
of
dogging, bird dogging for properties. You gotta find the deal. You gotta find the prospect of a property.
Yeah.
But the only thing with real estate is that you have property problems and you have people problems.
Right.
Over here,
overhead too.
Exactly. And if you have people problems, you just don't work with them anymore.
Yeah.
You're like, dude, you're too much of a project. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you have that. But I wish. If I can go back in time, I really wish I had some associations at a young age that could have, steered us in the right direction and kind of shaped our lives and would have been successful. But that wasn't the case. So I said, if it didn't happen to me, it's up to me now to make sure the next generation has a better shot at life.
Yeah. Well, you're still young. We're both still very young. And it didn't happen back then, but it was meant to be like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So the last thing that I want to talk about between you and I, because you mentioned legacy a lot, and that's very important to you to leave a legacy, to teach your kids about legacy. What does that mean to you, and how are you going to transfer that to the next generation?
Everything I want my family to be a family that works together.
Okay.
A unit.
And that's powerful. That's the first time I've heard that.
I want my family to, there's going to be 3 separate branches of the company.
Okay.
Of the family. I call it a
family corporation, right?
Yeah, General Electric's that way. They make toasters all the way to jet engines, right? Right. And they're different, but they're all branded as one. I say, okay, the Barring family legacy, I see past 3 generations. My dynasty trust ends the day that the 3 children have their own trusts. Oh. Mine ends.
Wow.
Okay, so that way it doesn't stay in perpetuity, but it only ends when theirs begins. That means they have to be responsible.
Right.
Makes sense. It's forcing them to shape their lives and construct it a certain way.
Not just give them money; they have to do certain things.
Exactly.
Right,
the wealth that's in there belongs to the trust, and if they ever want to use it, just like the Rockefeller system, they can borrow from it. But they have to pay it back. So they're self-banking. They're not going to Bank of America, which is like the McDonald's of financial services, right? B of A, all these little Wells Fargo, these banks, they're huge, just like McDonald's is huge, but they're fast food restaurants basically and they're lending institutions. They want you in and out.
Right.
That's what banks do. And so the wealthy people have set it up differently. They self-bank. And that whole concept is what we want to instruct our families to do, self-banking. Again, money's just a tool. That's all it is. But I want these kids, these young adults. What's crazy is like I talk to my kids, when they were little, and say, you're a trainee adult. And enjoy your childhood because you can be an adult longer than you're a kid, but you're a trainee adult.
That's true.
Right? And I said, there's a lot of adults out there that act like kids, and there's a lot of adults out there that are not responsible. And a lot of adults, they're grown-ass people, but they're emotionally not stable.
Right.
So
they just got older.
Exactly. So going to legacy is like, okay, we want to have these instead of instructions of like emotional intelligence.
100%,
man. Yeah. Emotional intelligence, like stable.
Yeah.
Nothing phases you, man. You're stable. You're not losing it. I'm not saying we're not perfect, man. That's for sure. But we actively work on developing our emotional intelligence, and I want that to transfer from generation to generation. Academia, yeah, of course, you need that academics because society, I have this whole thing where I talk about, well, the degrees are like having a passport, and the people that look at your passport are like the TSA of society. You kind of need them, but you don't really need them.
Right. You just need to get through security.
In that size, you got to be an autodidact. So an autodidact means you're self-taught.
Okay.
Yeah, it means you're always reading, you're always constantly growing, you're personally developing.
Formal education will give you a life. Self-education will give you a fortune.
And you're not afraid of hard work, man. You're not afraid of hard work. You're not afraid of giving back. I want them to contribute to the world around them. At least 3 generations. That's my instructions. Yeah. That's what's in the trust. That's my message I want to broadcast going forward.
Well, you know what? I think you're on the right path. You know what I mean? From where you came to where you are now is pretty amazing if you think about it. I don't think you give yourself enough credit, because not many people have had to face that much adversity, that much identity crises, basically, that much cultural differences, that many starts and stops in business, and you're still here. You're building a good family. Your morals and integrity is all in the right place, and with that, I have no doubt that you're gonna continue to be successful and achieve what you want to do. Any last words for the people out there before we go?
I say, when opportunity comes your way, you got to stop and look at that opportunity. Don't let your prior conditions and prior thinkings or experiences get in the way of analyzing an opportunity. 100%. Because opportunities only come maybe once or twice in somebody's life.
Right.
And if someone gives you an opportunity, they're also listening to see if you're worth. Because I listen to people, and I listen to if they close themselves or if they walk out on themselves, and that's happened quite a lot. It's like, ooh, dang, there's no way I'd want to work with that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you're like a person and say, okay, you openly ask, hey, look, I like the opportunity you have to show me. Can you tell me what are the upsides, what are the downsides, and how can that really fit into me? What made you think about me when you presented that opportunity to me? What made you think I'd be a good fit? Ask those kind of questions. Don't blatantly blow it off.
Right.
That's so dumb. You know what I mean? And it may not be for you, but you may know somebody that could benefit from that opportunity.
Right.
Again, we're all in this world. We're all working together. Really, we are. We need each other big time.
We're all connected.
We're all connected for sure. And if I had this saying, like, money is a lubricant to life. Money is a lubrication to life. Without it seizes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's rough.
And if it seizes for one person, then we start to seize it. It starts to seize for the rest of the economy. There's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if it's at your neighborly level or your family level, it affects everybody.
Right.
So we really got to look out for each other's welfare. Really do.
Yeah.
Really do. And when we look out for each other's welfare, our welfare is taken care of as well.
100%.
So that's really kind of what I have to share. And I think that's a value.
100%.
Right?
I agree.
That's a value system. And you maintain your character no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what comes at you, no matter what crap comes at you, you do not change your character to the lowest denominator. You keep doing what you're doing. You pick up the garbage when you see it in front of you. You keep going out there doing the tough work that needs to be done. No matter how many shit talkers out there in the world is full of them, man.
Mm-hmm.
They do nothings. They do nothing. They just take up space.
Mm-hmm.
But there needs to be more people that take up space in the world where people say, oh my gosh, that guy's actually making things beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to say, I want to help you make that thing beautiful too. You know what I mean? It could be a beautiful marriage. It could be a beautiful way of raising your family. It could be making the house beautiful. Anything, there's a thing, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know what I mean? There's that thing, like everyone has a function in society. Whatever you do, be the badass at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really what I really have to say. And if you're not badass, just keep working at it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So.
And the last thing, where can they find you? I know you're actually your company is looking for good people.
Absolutely.
Tell a little bit about that, and where can they find you?
Yeah, the best way to reach me would be through Facebook Messenger, Ravdeep Barring, and my name is Lord of Light. That's what that really means. Rav Deep, DEEP.
Your name means Lord of Light.
Lord of Light. Yeah,
wow, that's pretty awesome.
I didn't know that till later on, man. I was like, that's pretty.
Name
cool.
is powerful,
Yeah.
and we'll actually leave it in the description too.
Okay,
so anybody
cool,
wants to
cool.
find you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much, Rav. I mean, it was a pleasure
awesome,
having
man.
you. The beers were amazing.
I know,
the talk
right?
was amazing. You have an amazing story, by the way, and I never want you to forget that, because sometimes in life we can kind of forget who we are, where we came from, and you know, your name is powerful. It just tells you you're meant to do something big, right?
I reckon so.
Yeah. So again,
it won't leave me, man. I mean, you wake up to it every day and it doesn't shut down.
100%.
So that's crazy, man. It doesn't leave me. It's like, okay. What can I say, man? Yeah.
Well, 100%, Rav. Again, pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Catch us on the next one. And as always, follow your bliss.